Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking to Brian Fritton. Brian is the CEO of Havoc Shield. Brian, I'm looking forward to talking to you today about, just what you do as an all-in-one SaaS platform. Basically, TurboTax for small businesses and the cybersecurity element of it. And so cybersecurity is such a relevant topic, such a real-time relevant topic. Kind of wrap up in 2 sentences what you do for a small business.
Sure. Yeah. And thanks for having me, John. It's great to be here. So yeah, as you said, we're an all-in-one SaaS platform. Kind of is like what TurboTax did for complicated tax prep. You got to get a professional to figure out all of the stuff, and there's a lot of stressful hangings on around it. We kind of tried to do the same for cybersecurity. So we like to say we're the TurboTax for small business cybersecurity, and we bring all the tools, resources, guidance into one place under one hood, and make it so easy that the intern can do it. The idea is that you roll out a professional cybersecurity program that helps you win big customers who more and more have some distinct requirements on you, get into compliance with anything that you need to comply with, and keeps you safe at night.
Yeah, let's talk about so easy, because I think right now there are so many people trying to figure out how to make things easier, right? How to get things back to simple. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 34.
Okay, so that puts you. So what are you? Does that put you at the higher end of the millennial? Yeah, and so
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So why I asked that is because one of the things I say to clients all the time is there's room full of millennials and Gen Zs figuring out how to take what you're doing and make it easier for the consumer to receive the message, digest it, understand it faster, and be able to execute it on it faster. And if you're not in a boardroom figuring out how to, how to take something that's working and break it and reconstruct it in that moonshot thinking type of way, then by the time you realize it, you're gonna be too late and get run over.
Right.
And so I really want to kind of reverse engineer how you got to easy.
Yeah. Well,
because again, I just want to emphasize, I think people have a hard time getting to easy, so they become complacent and comfortable with what's currently working, but they're not forecasting out that it's not going to work in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 36 months, because the consumer is going to change.
Right. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. Security has been an element that for small businesses, and when I say small business, I'm talking like companies with less than 500 employees, usually companies with less than 200 employees.
Yeah.
Has really never worked for them. The security industry has never really been designed for them. And because of that, it's been a place where there isn't an awareness by small business owners, the folks in positions that have to take this seriously now because of the environment around us, of what good looks like. And so I can't blame them. I was in that position myself. So I'm a multi-time founder. Started a fintech company a number of years back as the CTO, and we were passing a few $1 million through the wire every day because of the type of business that we were running, and we were getting poked by hackers because of it. And I go, crap, I don't know what to put in place. Do I install an antivirus, right? And we put a few things in place that made us feel a little bit more comfortable at the time, but really, I wouldn't have known when we were attacked if we were, and what to do about it if we did. But the rubber really hit the road when I was in another position that I think a lot of folks find themselves in small businesses, which is I was a VP of engineering for a little bit larger of a company, and they worked heavily in the political space. And I inherited IT after another person, didn't want the department anymore, and I was kind of the more technical executive, and thus in most businesses also inherited what they called security, right? And then we went into the 2018 midterms, and we hosted the political data strategy hubs for about 9 out of every 10 progressive Democratic national campaign. So we actually had, people looking at us as targets by state-sponsored attackers and all that sort of good stuff. And we had to get serious about it really fast. And so what we did there gave me an education in how little access small businesses have to professional cybersecurity. And the easy part of this is we had to take all of the crazy, built for large businesses and government frameworks that are out there that are just these massive, complicated matrix of how to do things. We had to take a lot of the resources, tools, point solutions out there that are fragmented and built for people in security roles, and make them no jargon, possible to be used by people that don't know how to configure those things. And so we focus a lot on design. We focus a lot on opinionating the best practices, and making it possible for you to do something in a few minutes. Because frankly, you got a day job, so that's part of easy too. Is we want to get you back to your job.
Yeah. And how do you stay in front of that to continually make it easier? It's, when you say you focus a lot on design, it makes me think of Steve Jobs and Apple, right? It's, how important the design was. So it was almost, infotaining at the same time, right? So it made it graphically appealing, the design, which was part of making it easy. But one thing very similar to what I'm hearing you say, like in this example, an iPhone, it gets continually easier and easier and easier to use, right?
Yeah.
There's no even, a lot of times you download an app, there's no instructions. You intuitively can figure it out within under 30 seconds how to use it. And so how do you, within the walls of your organization, what's your best practice to get continually re-examine what's working, but make it easier and rebuild it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, starting with the output first, we model after TurboTax, right? So the iPhone's another great analogy.
Yeah.
We model after, how easy TurboTax is to use to get a super complicated thing done for most people. And so we track a lot of the models and patterns that you would expect out of some software like that, and just like the iPhone gets easier to use, the more often you use it, you come to expect certain patterns in the way that you do things with us, whether it's rolling out a security vendor or generating a policy or what have you. Inside the organization, we take standards really, really seriously, and we don't do a whole lot of ad hoc stuff. We have standards about how we introduce new things to the world, about how we make product decisions, and how we run development cycles. Is basically we have a pitch process, and the pitch process allows us to describe what we think good looks like using pattern language. When you think about a good what a good kitchen looks like, a good kitchen has natural light from a window. The fridge can fully open, it's not blocked by anything, and there's enough space to move around. You got about 6 feet, right? But we're not telling you what color the cabinets are. We're not telling you where to place the fridge and stuff like that. And so what it does is we think a lot about what good looks like, and that's where we simplify. That's where we take all that complexity.
Yeah. So right, you think about what good looks like, which is such a simple statement. So how do you define as a team kind of what good is?
Yeah. So it's usually a process of talking to people who are smarter than us. So our customers first.
Yeah. People get that wrong. I don't want to interrupt you, but a lot of times people forget to talk to their customers. It's like Sam Walton used to go to the boardroom, who the founder of Walmart, and they would throw out all these numbers and statistics and the this and the this. And he realized that as he looked around the room, the people at that boardroom giving him guidance on the numbers weren't the client. weren't
Oh
the
yeah.
consumer. So he would go to the diner, and the story goes that he would have coffee and pie with his customers. He would take the data to the diner, and then the diner back to the boardroom, and filter out any data that wasn't important to the people at the diner. And
Yeah.
so, but people sometimes, I just want to highlight, forget to talk to the customer. So a CEO who wants to know more about their business, right? So I'm a business coach. I coach solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies, everything in between, from salespeople, managers, VPs, and C-level execs. CEO wants to get to know more about what's going on in their business or forecast. Just pick up the phone and call 25 customers.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
incredibly important. Yeah. And
Yeah.
to that point, we have a standard around it. Every quarter we have a routine about how we select the customers that we want to talk to. And mostly that boils down to, we haven't talked to them in a while.
Yeah.
And they're a diverse group of customers. We don't like to focus on any specific type or size or anything like that. We want to get a good share of diversity in that customer segment, because we have to make this as easy, so easy that the intern can do it, right? That's kind of that bolded text of it. Yeah, it's crazy important, and something that I think a lot of people overlook is just talking to your customers and having good, I think, awareness of how to synthesize that feedback too, right? Like,
Yeah.
You can't just ask them what's their problem today and
Right.
what can we help solve. You've got to run a better process than that. But
And think about the questions that you're asking, right?
Yep.
Because the answers are only going to be as good as the questions that you ask, right?
Yep.
But I just want to kind of highlight, and I love the fundamentals you're talking about. Having the routine of it is the key, because a lot of companies say they're going to do it, but they don't create it to be a routine. They don't put the structure around it. So I love what you're talking about, and it's those are the easy things that are so complicated, but that keep things to move to easy. So I love what you're talking about. Any other thoughts on just getting to easy?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, right? It's not easy to get to easy,
Right.
so
Right.
there's just a lot to talk about there. But I think talking to your customers, because as you said, we are not our customers, and we specifically hire people who don't come from the security industry a lot of the time, because we want that perspective.
Yeah.
They're very, very accomplished people who've done a lot in their life, but they haven't been in the security industry a whole ton before, because we don't want to think that way continually. But very quickly they learn how to use the Havoc Shield platform. They learn what the flagship features are. They learn what doesn't work well, right? And so, like, you got to talk to people outside the building.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Tell people how they, who your ideal client is. Like, who are your ideal clients who need your product?
Yeah, as a rough cut, we're well suited to companies who don't have a security team. Usually companies with less than 500 employees. Sweet spot's kind of between like 10 and 200 employees, which is usually when you start facing the types of security requirements that we can help with the most. You've got big customers that are sicking new requirements on you. You've got to start complying with, state, federal, industry, cybersecurity rules. And so about that size. And then you're in one of these sensitive industries, so finance, healthcare, education, where there's more distinct requirements on you that you can get fined for, your business shut down if you don't. And a lot of those things kind of quieted down a little bit in 2020, 2021, but the writing's on the wall that they're going to bring enforcement back after all the news of ransomware over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And the fact is that small businesses are attacked just as often as their larger counterparts are. And so there's a lot of focus on making sure that small businesses are included in these types of attitudes when it comes to regulation. So in a sensitive regulated space between 10 and 200 employees, and they need help with getting their security in order. So we can help at a lot of stages, but what we like to say is we're really, really good at starting your program and then growing it with you. So we like to find folks who haven't done much at all, honestly.
Okay, good. And your website and how they can connect with you, email, phone, etc.
Yeah, it's havocshield.com. And we're really, really serious, I think, about putting humans in front of our technology. We know that the SaaS platform is great, but technology doesn't always solve all of the anxiety and fear around security as a topic. So we invested really heavily in our client success team, making sure that they are there as a layer to answer questions and provide guidance in front of the technology when needed.
Yeah.
And so sort of in the spirit of putting that human in front of the technology to be a resource, like people can just email them if they have questions, customer or not. It's just Brian, Brian at havocshield.com.
Great. I love it. All right. Quick speed round, Brian. You ready?
All right, let's do it.
Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Write everything down.
Yeah. Did you hear that from me?
No. But
oh, I say that all the time. People, people say, "How are you so good at time management or remembering things?" Because I write everything down. That's the secret. Just write everything down. Right.
Clarifies thought.
They're correct, and it builds it builds a funnel to the ultimate idea, or get things out of your head to do your to-do, so you can think about a better idea. I love that.
Yep.
I say it all the time, but no one's ever said it back to me, so I love it. Favorite book and why?
There's a book called Running Lean by an author named Ash Moira, and it is like the battle manual on how to test your ideas, and how to, very importantly, get outside the building and talk to customers, and how to build and iterate on an MVP, and not fool yourself about the solution. A lot of us entrepreneurs love to go and build the solution, and then no one buys it. And so it's a great battle book on how to go and execute the process of finding a must-solve problem and building towards that.
Right. So Running Lean, second edition. Go from plan A to plan that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
They have a second book called Scaling Lean that is okay, you figured out, fit. Now how do you grow the business?
I love it. Last question. Somebody who's scared of cybersecurity and doesn't know where to begin, their first step should be
MFA. So multi-factor authentication. It's that hey, you got to type in a code after you type in your username and password sometimes. Put it on everything you can. Emails are the key to the kingdom. So make sure that if you use Google or Office 365, that it's on there. Best way, but everything else too, right? Dropbox, your bank, anything. It's the best way to make sure that if your account gets out there in a company's data breach, or you reuse a password, and some attackers using automated technology to go and try that password on every other website, even if you used it, which you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But even if you did, it's going to make it so much harder for them to get into your account, because they got to have that code that only you have on your cell phone or what have you.
All right, good. For another conversation, that'll be worth it. Brian, I appreciate your time. Thanks for talking about, it's not easy to get to easy, but you got to get to easy, right? And you got to talk to your customers, you got to have routines, and you got to write everything down. I appreciate you being on the show. Think community. If Brian can help you, please reach out. Brian, thanks. Appreciate you being on the show. And I'll talk to you. We'll definitely stay connected.
Thanks a ton, John. This is great.
Thanks, Brian.